We're going to talk about soul fragment healing and timeline healing within your Akashic records. And before we get into that, I'm going to say that anytime that I reference past versions, I'm talking about any version of yourself that is younger than you from who you are today. So that could be you yesterday or any of your inner children, teens, 20s, 30s, anybody younger than you. So as not to be confused with past lives. So I was going to sit in meditation this morning, and what I was going to do is talk to my higher selves. And I've actually personified them in 4 different energy bodies. Well, some of my higher selves, but wealth, success, magic, and clients, a calendar full of clients with my business. And so I was going to start my day off by shifting my energy field on a quantum level so I can embody future me. And so I'm sitting there about to have this lovely chat, and I go within my subconscious, and we took a detour. Okay, I saw this portal door open up, and I went inside of it, and there was younger me in my 20s, and I was like, hey, how are you doing? And she was so upset. And I said, what was going on? And she said, I just feel so shameful and guilty, and I have so many regrets. And I was like, okay, well, let's sit and talk about it. And it was like such heavy feelings that was coming up. But, you know, when we go into access these things from the past and our emotions and trauma and PTSD. And she was saying, if I had made different decisions during our life, we could have been in a completely different trajectory, or we could have been much further down our journey. And I was like, stop right there. I don't think that at all. I am not holding any type of anger or shame or guilt over you. I love you unconditionally, and I want you to understand the only reason that we are the person that we are today is because of you. I know that during that time period, we were in very destructive activities. I was like, but you're also the one that led me to the spiritual awakening journey. That happened solely because of you. And then we launched ourselves in a completely different life, even though from your lenses, that looked like we were doing not so great things. But from where I'm sitting, where I can see more of our soul contract, what you did was absolutely incredible and beautiful, because if we hadn't have gone down that path, then we wouldn't be who we are and where we are today. And so thank you for doing those things and going through all of that pain and that trauma and incurring all that PTSD and those things that happen in relationships and just life as in totality. I said, you're so strong and bold and courageous to subject yourself to those things so that we can be here now. And the reason that I want to say this is because when you are in the middle of a quantum jump, you have 1 foot in the new timeline and 1 foot in the old timeline, you're going to have a whole lot of stuff that starts coming up from the past. It is stuff from inner child, from past versions, PTSD, trauma, memories, and how you get stuck on the old timeline is because you're like, oh, well, I haven't worked through this stuff, or, you know, I must be doing something wrong because it's all coming back up. That is your past versions and your inner children asking for your help and support. They're saying, hey, I am actually ready to release these things. That's why I'm bringing them up. And so it's your job as a higher self to come in and process through those things with them. So when I'm doing Akashic healing or inner child healing with people, or even with myself, I'm like, you still have to feel those feelings and emotions. It doesn't feel good because it's coming from deep within your Akasha field and your chakra system, and you're having to pull it forward, all that crystalline energy that's created anxiety and depression and disease and all that stuff, to release it from your fields, but you can't bypass over it. Now, when you are helping your inner children and your past versions, though, the beautiful thing is you are not immersed in it. You are not the trauma. They experience those things. And you can come in as a more observer, as the multidimensional coach, friend, loved one, mentor, and help them process through those things. You still have to feel it, but now we're detached from it and we're not identified with the pain and the trauma. We're saying that was an experience, but that is not me at my core. After her and I had this session with one another, my past version, we felt so much better. I felt so much lighter and brighter. I was feeling kind of sleepy and tired because anytime you do energy healing work, that happens. And I was starting to question, why did that happen today? Why I went in to intend to talk to my higher selves, and then it shifted, oh, I'm in the middle of a quantum jump. And then I went to go lay out in the grass because I was feeling just so exhausted, overwhelmed, and trying to re-regulate myself. And I'm laying there and I'm talking to my inner children, and then all of a sudden this stuff comes up again. Not that same stuff, but like money stuff and finances and safety and security. And it could have been me attaching to it and saying like, oh no, like this stuff. I was like, no, we've already worked through that. We already did that. I will gladly help everybody work through that, but we're not attaching to it. And so I'm talking it through them, and we're energy healing on a quantum level. And I was like, how do we feel now? And they're like, I feel free. I feel like, oh, I can just let this go. And then I'm about to start right now. One of my inner children was like, I can just release that. And I was like, yes, please. And then I just started bawling my eyes out and crying because I could feel her releasing that from like 30 years of holding on to it. Okay. And then my grandparents, who have passed on to the other side, they came forward and were talking to my inner children and explaining to them like why we or why they, life was the way it was and why we went through certain experiences and trauma and stuff. And they were like apologizing to my inner children, and it was just so freeing. But I had to lean in, and it didn't feel good when my inner children were speaking to my grandparents, because it was bringing up so much stuff from the past. But I had to allow them the space and grace to do that within my energy field so they could process it. And then we all had just the most lovely chat together, my inner children, me, and my grandparents. And it was just so much love and compassion and grace and forgiveness. And then when I got up, I felt like a completely different person because I quantum jumped onto a different timeline because I leaned into looking at that stuff and helping them process. And so I wanted to share this today in case you're in the middle of a quantum jump and you're having all this old stuff come up. Take a pause and ask yourself, have I actually worked through these things? And what is happening right now is I am disidentifying and delayering another level so that I can shift forward into a new life and state of being. And how can I help my inner children and my past versions process through these things so we can all feel lighter as a whole and feel more magical and healthy and vibrant and free. And I would love to hear if you have any thoughts or questions. You can leave them in the comments. And I hope you have a super magical day and happy quantum shifting.